Welcome back. It's another day in the garden. Today is June 9th, 2020, and this is Casual Gardening with Dustin. Today, we're going to start with some footage I did earlier in the morning of harvesting carrots because, well, it got really cold for a couple of days and I was concerned that more of my carrots were going to bolt, so I just went in and harvested everything that wasn't already flowering. So how do you know when it is time to harvest your carrots? One really good method is to keep track of when you planted them and what their days to harvest are. These regular orange carrots, for example, have a 75-day time to harvest. And so what I do is I just give them a twist and pull them out. This could have maybe gotten a little bit bigger, but I am harvesting all the carrots I can today because we've just had another cold snap, and that is the sort of thing that will cause bolting, just like in the other carrots I've got that have already bolted. So a couple days ago I came through and checked. Ooh, here's a forked one. This is apparently what you don't want. So a couple days ago I checked to see how things were going developmentally. This one was not ready. And I found that most of my carrots were in good shape. So today I'm just pulling them. They don't have just taproot. There is more going on down in there. So giving it a little twist helps pull away from the little root hairs that come off to the sides of the carrot and helps dislodge it from the ground. The earth is nice and moist and soft this morning. Mornings are an excellent time to harvest. And make sure as you pick your carrots, you just want to come in and snap the top right off, because if you don't, these will start pulling nutrients out of your root and you'll lose those sugars that you want to enjoy in your carrot. Alright, so here we have the carrots that I picked. You notice I've got three colors: orange, blacky purple, and yellow. And over here is my pile of ready to go in the compost pile. Now these are small and they're misshapen and they're non-uniform, and that is what you get when you grow your own carrots. So if you're a first-time carrot grower and you get something like this, this is what success looks like until you are very, very experienced. Don't let this get you down. This is my best year growing carrots. This is my best crop of carrots I have ever grown. Alright, and I'll try to show you, I've got my oak leaf lettuce bolting, so I'll show you what that looks like. But mostly what I want to do today is talk about pruning tomatoes to train them up a stake and how I do that. On MIGardener's channel, he covers this as well. He does one vine up each stake. I like to do two. That's pretty much the only difference. Let's get to it. I'm going to begin, so you can kind of see, maybe you can see it's forked right here. So I've got two main branches where it's growing. But I also have this sucker coming off down here, further down, and that's on purpose. This is where I planned on my split originally, but this crotch between the two, where it naturally forked, actually looks a lot sturdier. So I'm going to begin by changing my mind and just cutting this completely off. This has fruit on it, but it's all being damaged by the hail over the weekend. So I don't mind giving it a fresh start. So that cleans things up a little bit. So you've got some basic anatomy of the plant. Alright, so right in here you can see a branch, kind of, there's a leaf in the way, so you see the branch here. This is a leaf. Here at the crotch where it meets the main stem, you have this big, thick sucker coming off, and it's even got flowers at the end. But because I've already got all the branches I want, I'm going to cut this whole thing off. And because it's thick, I'm going to use some shears. Once they get really thick, you run the risk of pulling off at a weird angle and damaging the plant. So now if I follow this up further, got some more really bad hail damage. That's too bad. And then right here, right in this crotch here, we have a flowering sucker coming off. So instead of pulling off the flowering part, because I want to keep that, I'm just going to pull off this tip here where it's growing. And we'll just let this continue to be flowers. Alright, here's a tiny little thing right in this crotch. I can just pick that off with my fingernails. And if you just go through and check probably every other day while it's cool, every day while it's warm, you can keep on top of it. Oh, there's one more little guy right here. Now I'm mostly cleaned up. I am going to want to come in here and remove some leaves as well. So here you can have a feel for the overall shape. Here is my roll of reusable Velcro tomato ties. They are awesome. I want to just encourage these both to be right up to the post. That barely reaches around, so I'll just pull off another piece. Reinforce this, and see that they're actually quite loosely bound to my post. This is a good idea because it allows for growth. These stems are going to thicken as they grow. I'm going to see what is crossing, what is pinched. So this looks like where it flowered, it created another attempt at a main stem. So I'm just going to cut this whole thing off. I just want one main stem per my two main stems. Now I'm going to go in and take off some lower leaves, because your lower leaves are more susceptible to picking up diseases from backsplash from your substrate. So now that this is nice and tall, I can get my bottom foot that I prefer. This variety is a Florentino tomato, and it is an early fruiting variety, so that's why it's already covered with fruit in progress. The green zebra in the back there, I don't know if you can see it, is also fruiting like crazy. But okay, so I've secured these higher up. I left them a little bit loose for the hailstorm that we had, so that they had a little bit more give when the hail hit them. But now I'm going to be going around and just pruning all my tomatoes and guiding them up this stake. My stakes are 8 feet tall. And the reason they're 8 feet tall isn't because that's how tall my plant can grow in a season. I've gotten them up to about 12 feet, just while I was seeing how tall they could get. They wasn't 12 feet tall, they went up an 8-foot stake, and then I had a 4-foot vine leaning back down. Okay, the reason I top out at 8 feet is because that's as tall as I feel comfortable growing my tomatoes, and also because at about 8 feet, that takes me to about the end of August, and at that point I top them at the top of the stake, and that encourages energy to be put back down into ripening the fruit that has already started. Because after a certain point I don't want to start more fruit, because it won't be ready before it's too cold to do me any good. So your height that you prefer is going to be all about your situation. My situation in my climate with my indeterminate tomatoes is 8 feet. Okay, here is some oak leaf lettuce. Excuse the hail damage. How I know this is bolting is you've got this elongation of the stalk in between the leaves. So it's gotten tall where these were originally very, well, bunchy. they're not anymore. This is getting ready to shoot up and have a flower head on it. I'm going to watch my other lettuce varieties and see if anything else starts to bolt. If it doesn't, I'm just going to collect some seeds off these. But if something else that I care more about begins to bolt, I'm going to yank these out and throw them in the compost pile. Right, all of the tomato plants have been pruned down. I've taken off all the suckers I don't want and trained them a little bit more up my stake. Some final words. You cannot make a big mistake on this. You could accidentally top your plant at 2 feet tall. It's something I've done. If you do wind up in a situation where you haven't got any more primary vines, you just wait, and one of your axial meristems, these little elbows where your suckers come out, it'll produce a new sucker. Leave it on, let it grow up your stake, and make that your new primary vine. So you don't need to be timid about this. Take off your tomato vines boldly and without fear. They will help you overcome any mistakes you make. Another thing, I think about 2 vines is probably as many as you can grow up a stake without really crowding your plants and getting poor air circulation. I space mine about 2 feet apart, my posts, and I find that that's plenty of space. You may decide that you can go a little closer or you need to be a little further away. It's entirely up to you. It's okay to prune off extra leaves if you feel like they're crossing each other or they look a little sick. As long as you have enough leaf tissue on your plant to keep growing it, it's going to be fine. Tomatoes are probably the sturdiest plant in our garden that we baby all year long. Especially during the warmer months, they seem almost simultaneously to be bulletproof and fragile. So as long as they don't get sick, you're probably going to be fine. You can help prevent a lot of disease by mulching around the base of your tomato. This will make it so that you have more even moisture around your roots, which will help reduce blossom and rot, and that's brilliant. Also, cutting some of the lower leaves off your vine is going to, again, help prevent pathogens from splashing up from the soil when it rains or when a stray sprinkler gets it. Aside from that, just make sure you've got good air circulation, and I don't think I've ever fed mine aside from a layer of compost. But if you are where you need to feed your tomatoes, don't feel bad, just feed them. I think that about wraps up this video for June 9th, 2020. I hope that your garden grows well.